Here are two main takeaways I have after watching the Super 32 tournament this weekend in North Carolina. Number one is start building your body. These athletes nowadays are they're not necessarily big, because we know that wrestling strength doesn't mean muscle mass, right? But they are explosive, they're athletic, and you can tell that they have not been ignoring the weight room. And so obviously your nutrition is important. The weight room is important year round, okay? So don't just lift hard in the off season for 4 months and then, go into football and then go into wrestling. Sometimes we're so busy that we ignore the weight room. So you need to be in the weight room at least twice so we can be extremely serious about this. And if you can add some plyometrics, that's key. And the lifts that are conducive to helping in the sport of wrestling, right? So like walking lunges, deadlifts, possibly with a trap bar, something that quite a bit more safer for most of us, and squats. It's called this posterior chain. That's where all of your strength and power comes from, and much of your athleticism too, right? So build your body, start early, preferably in middle school. Even the youth kids should be lifting weights with dumbbells, not necessarily squats and walking lunges and those types of things, but, some basic dumbbell workouts, rope climbs, pull-ups, tire flips, and some of these things, plyometrics once a week. But specifically in middle school and then into high school, you need to start working on building up your body. If you watch the MMA guys, you follow them on social media and so forth, they spend a huge amount of time building up their bodies. So a lot of times that's the thing that separates us. The second thing I noticed was how instinctive these wrestlers are. So, we have a phrase that I will wrestle instinctively, and I will give my permission to do that. And I'm going to wrestle instinctive in practice, because what happens is sometimes we want to win so bad that we start thinking about, how can I guarantee a victory here? And we say, I need to do this, I need to not do this, my opponent does this, so I need to watch for that. And maybe if I do this to my opponent and I grab them this way or tie up this way or wrestle this way, I can keep them from doing that they're really good at. And we become very conscious. We want to be subconsciously, we're acting and reacting. So our phrase is what? Best dance in America, score every chance you get, whatever happens, happens. What's going to happen in the match, Nick? Not really sure. I want to figure it out as I go. I'm just going to try to score points when I see them. I'm going to try to score points when I see them. So, and that shows that these guys are operating from a kind of a high level of a mental game. Okay? Because sometimes those of us who don't have a strong mental game, it's because you're not just letting it fly. And you're not wrestling instinctively. So practice wrestling instinctively in practice, and commit to wrestling instinctively in a match. And sure, you might have a game plan that says, I can't chase this guy to the edge because he scores off of the edge. So I know that, I know that my opponent is only going to wrestle from the left side, and he's going to ride a blanket ride or a cradle ride. Okay, so I might want to drill that a little bit, because that's probably going to happen in the match. So you can game plan without trying to map out exactly how the match is going to go. And another thing for wrestling instinctively is this: you need a lot of live wrestling. I think that we don't get enough live wrestling in high school and in youth wrestling. I know at our practices, some of our practices tonight in our academy, we have locations in Illinois, Missouri, and in Arkansas. And we have 24 academy locations going right now. And at our peak here in June, we had 490 athletes training with us every week. And I'd say probably 100 families, 120 families. They're driving 4 hours round trip to train with us for 2.5 hours. But, we're going to go an hour and 15 minutes of live wrestling. And a college coach one time told me, if your practices are longer than an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and a half, then you don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, you're a Big Ten coach. These 15-year-old kids and these 8, 9, 10-year-old kids and 6-year-old kids, they're not wrestling as intense as two grown men, okay? So you do need a lot of live wrestling. So I would encourage you to get a lot of live wrestling year round. And now how much do you get? I think an hour. Every time you practice, you should, drill for an hour and 15 minutes, take an hour break, and you have an hour and 10 minutes left for live wrestling. Maybe take another break in there. So you're getting about an hour and 5 minutes of live wrestling. That's what I would get. Our other core skills practices are 2 hours. So they're going to drill for 55 minutes, a 5-minute break, and live wrestle for an hour. But our drilling is very organized. I mean, if you were to see our practices, and we have camp videos and things, I mean, we literally, organization is how we have success, right? We don't waste any time, okay? So 55 minutes of drilling, it looks like number 1, man, underhook throw by. I'll talk you through it once. Right, step 1, collar tight, ear to ear, hairline of the collarbone. Step 2, step your left foot next to the right pinky toe. Stop. Step 3, stand up, look right, and we talk them through it. Go for 2 minutes. Time. Number 2, talk you through it once. Time. Go. Right, and if you have our online academy, you know how to drill the room like that and get really good, really fast. So 55 minutes is a lot of drilling, and in our other rooms we go about an hour and 10 minutes of drilling, and that's a lot. But we're actually drilling that time. We're not getting like, they say the average person at work is like 3 hours of work done and they're gone from the house 9 hours. We're actually getting an hour of drilling when we say we're drilling for an hour, which is a lot. Now, as far as live wrestling, if you wrestle an hour a week, our kids come, they wrestle, if they only come to 1 practice a week year round, they're going to get basically an hour of live wrestling. That's 52 hours. That's 310 minutes of live wrestling, divided by 5 minutes. So that's over 600 matches of live. And you go, oh, I'm not going to practice once a week. That's just not even worth my time. 600 matches worth of live wrestling is worth your time. So some of you who don't have instinctive wrestling, it's because you don't wrestle enough. You gotta put year-round time in. And that is obviously for you older wrestlers, maybe middle school, high school, who really want to wrestle at the college level. People say, do you want to have a 6-pack? Yeah. Do you want to put in an hour and a half a week and not buy this kind of food and not do? No, I don't want to do that. So you really don't want the 6-pack, right? So I'm talking about the kids who are like, are you really ready to give up parts of your life to be a college wrestler? Yes. Okay. Then you got to wrestle once a week year round starting in middle school, because it does add up. And it's 52, to 55 hours of drill time. So it does make a difference. Good luck.